Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Wong with World Economic Forum. Very pleased to see you here for this press conference. There's three things that we want to actually share today, but the bulk of it is, of course, about our new program for Internet for All in South Africa. This year marks the one-year anniversary when we launched the Internet for All project in Africa in our World Economic Forum meeting in Kigali. I don't know if any of you were there, but there we announced the launching of our first country programs, which were the Northern Corridor in Africa. And we also released our first report, which was around a framework for internet access and adoption. The reason why we're looking at this issue is because, as many of you know, we still have over 4 billion people not on the internet globally, which is 52% of the population. We have an issue where the penetration rate is slowing down. And we also have an issue where gender is a major challenge. The gender gap is increasing. According to the ITU, the gender gap was around 11% in 2013. Now it's 12%. So that means 12% fewer usage by women than men. And in Africa, unfortunately, it's the worst region where it's almost 23%, the gap. So the statistics are not getting better, and we have to keep working hard as a community to achieve Internet for All, which is going to be the underpinning technology for the fourth industrial revolution. In light of that, we've also are publishing a second report. It'll be released next week, but the executive summary is here at the front of the table, which is an investment framework for digital adoption. So we put together a framework so that we can do some estimates on how much it will cost to deliver Internet for All. And I want to recognize Hans Kuipers from BCG, who's sitting in the front. BCG has been our knowledge partner on this project, and together with Hans, we're happy to answer any questions on that. Finally, the main event for this press conference is that we are officially launching the Internet for All program in South Africa under the leadership of the government and many of the key business leaders and young leaders around the country. So this press conference will focus on this particular challenge and what we are committing to doing as a global community. I want to recognize that already, besides the organizations and people on the table, on the panel here, Telkom, and Jabu is just getting mic'd up, so he'll be here in a second. MTN, Digital Opportunity Trust, and our Global Shapers community. We also have Cisco, Microsoft, Qualcomm, DBSA, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, and Liquid Telecom, who all attended a meeting yesterday and who have committed to be core champions to drive this initiative forward, which we are making initially as a 2-year commitment. So with that introductory comment on what we want to talk about today and share with you, I'm very pleased to hand the floor over to His Excellency, Minister Siyabonga Cwele, the Minister of Telecommunications and Postal Services of South Africa.
Thank you very much, Alex, and thank you to the team. As a country, we're very excited about this project. It's because it's a project of collaboration of all the stakeholders, from business to NGOs, from entrepreneurs and government, to expedite the adoption of internet in South Africa. And we think that it will help us to meet our national development goals of reaching everybody by 2020. So we just got 2.5 years to reach this target. It is an enormous target, but I think it is achievable if we work together. It is achievable if we work together to spread the infrastructure to where it's not existing at the moment. If we work together to make sure that the internet is more affordable for those who are people in the poorer segment of our society. If we work together to up the skills for the people to be able just to use the internet as an empowering tool for everyone for development, I think it will help us if we also continue the programs to increase the confidence of the people in the use of the internet, particularly the small business sector and our youth, so that they can take the opportunity to exploit the opportunities of the internet economy for development. Those are the things I think we're excited and we're very committed as government, and we're very grateful to Alex and our two national leaders at the global level who came also with the idea, our global entrepreneurs, and those who come from other successful stories from the Northern Corridor. We met just less than a year in Mexico with Alex, where we started throwing this idea, and he said, no, they've got this Internet for All project, because we're trying to see what is it that we can do to empower those South Africans who are not connected at the moment. So in that respect, Alex, we are very excited, and as government, we are fully committed. We will be working with the stakeholders to make sure that we do reach our 2020 target. Currently, the estimate of about 22 million South Africans who are not online. So that's a task we have set for ourselves, that by in 2.5 years, we should try and bring all those people to be online. And as a government, we will remain the key facilitator to make sure that we spread this development to the underserved area at the moment. Thank you very much.
I should mention, of course, our role here in supporting the government and the minister is to build on the National Development Plan and South Africa Connect. So these are the underpinning plans that we will help accelerate, because we believe that only through public-private collaboration can we achieve these objectives. Let me call on our next panelist, Jabu Mabuza. Jabu plays many roles at the forum, besides his main role as chairman of Telkom Group, but he also serves as the chair of our African Regional Business Council. And he's also a member of the Global Steering Committee for Internet for All. And so Jabu, you've been one of the leaders to help get this going in South Africa.
Yeah, Alex, just really for me is to thank the World Economic Forum, the work that has been done, Janet and the team at the steering committee, and basically everybody for agreeing to allow us as South Africans not to reinvent the wheel, to piggyback and look at the learnings of what has happened in the Northern Corridor, look at what is being done in Argentina, and as we can then, given our limited resources, as how we should grapple with the 4 barriers of infrastructure, skills, affordability, and indeed the issue of content. So we are excited to be part of the guinea pigs, as it were, to allow working with government how we can bridge this digital divide, and how we can bring in into the net the 20-odd million people that are outside of it. So we are saying here, let's all work together. We're going to be inviting all our other colleagues in the ITC space, the OEMs, everybody to come and let's learn from what has happened elsewhere.
Thank you, Jabu. So, of course, another key actor is civil society. And Janet Longmore is the CEO of Digital Opportunity Trust, also a member of our Global Steering Committee for Internet for All, but also very active in the region, including South Africa. Janet.
Thank you, Alex. And I'm very excited to be here today and with the team. DOT has a 14-year track record of mobilizing the talent of tech-savvy young women and men and deploying them to their home communities to build digital literacy skills amongst their peers. And under the Northern Corridor pilot initiative, we've partnered with the government of Rwanda for a very innovative, ambitious program that we are bringing to this initiative as well. It is called the Digital Ambassadors Program. And imagine in your mind thousands of very tech-savvy, talented young women and men who will be deployed to their home communities to build digital literacy skills amongst the people. The core essence of this is a broad collaboration, private sector, international private sector, the government, and civil society as strong implementers. The government has vested it in their digital talent policy, so it is approved and moving forward. And the other core essence is reaching and understanding the needs of the user. So women in marginalized communities, people in villages, why are they not connected? And what we have learned and what young people know is unless digital skills are relevant in a local context, people are not going to pick up because it's a high value proposition for them. So the outcome will be a much stronger digital literate nation And these young people are supported to create social enterprises. They will become job creators. They will be creating local content. And we will have a lasting legacy of thousands of digital entrepreneurs. So it's very exciting, and we are here to share with the entire team. And I'm thrilled that Amanda and the Global Shapers will take a leadership role in this initiative.
Thank you, Janet. So next, I'd like to call on Stephen Van Coller. Stephen is the Vice President of Digital Services, Data Analytics, and Business Development at MTN Group, and has also been a member of our Global Steering Committee, but also one of the core anchors of our South Africa program. Stephen.
Thanks, Alex. I think from our point of view, MTN's always been committed to creating a brighter digital future for all our customers, but I think this project is something that's gone even beyond that, and I think that's why we're really excited to have civil society, to have the government owning it, leading it, helping us with it, getting the rest of the sector involved, and more importantly, getting the young shapers who are actually building their future to get interested in it and get it going. I think it's just the perfect team, and that really excites us because I think with everyone together like that, we can really make a difference. And I would love nothing more than to see that the ICT sector, with everyone, including government, can actually make such a difference to the South African economy. So hopefully we can build brighter futures for all, and that's going to be our aim.
So thank you, Stephen. And last but not least, because there's never an issue where people don't talk about the youth, and we're very proud at the forum that we have 7 global shaper hubs across South Africa, which is over 150 young leaders, such as Amanda. Amanda joined our sessions yesterday, and we've asked her to help engage all the shapers across South Africa into this initiative. So Amanda, who's also the CEO of the Delivakazi Online Media, and is one of our shapers out of Durban. So Amanda.
Thank you, Alex. You know, there's nothing more painful than walking into university and meeting someone your age who's never had the opportunity to work with the computer, who can't put together an assignment. And so this project is so critical and so important for the context of South African youth to be able to be literate in simply using the most basic elements of computer literacy, and in the ability to produce their own work self-made and self-taught. And so as the shapers, this morning in conversation with the curatorship of South Africa and Durban, we're very glad to be part of this initiative. In fact, we're more than willing to lead this initiative and hold all the stakeholders accountable, of course, simply on the premise that the future is in our hands, and we know that we're governizing it for now, and we need to institute the changes now for it to be effective in 10 years' time.
Excellent. So I think we have some time for some questions.
Seems very simple and very straightforward.
We would add media has a critical role to play, both as a creator of content, but also to track what's happening. So I think that's a commitment. Please, at the back. Please introduce yourself as well.
Hi, good morning. This is Anna Montero from Bloomberg News. I'd just like to get an idea of the cost of this program and how it's going to be funded. Thank you so much.
Well, if I were just to jump in, clearly this is early stages. We still have to scope the work, but we have kind of sense and whether that is going to be applicable. The one thing about Africa, different countries in Africa are at different stages of development. But we were told that there was a particular environment where the cost came to about $64 per person. So now, depending on where you are in the what infrastructure have you already got? Whether you can take that number as a guide, but it's not going to be a cheap exercise. That is why the whole principle of sharing the infrastructure and collaborating is we cannot afford to each have our own infrastructure when we want to connect everybody, because we'll have to connect that infrastructure after all. So the cost, I don't think we're there yet. We need to scope the work first But the first important part of that is the infrastructure. And as the minister was saying yesterday in our meeting, then is the gadgets, the actual device. As against saying what would be the cost of that, we're saying here's an opportunity that these gadgets can be manufactured, assembled in market, which is going to bring jobs, but is also going to bring costs down. So we're hoping this can be not the silver bullet, not the panacea, but can be something that takes us further than just connectivity. Even on the issue of content, there is a lot of content that would have to be digitized. There's a lot of content that have to be delivered in a language that the people in the villages speak. So whilst it's going to be a challenge, the more there will be crowding in of operators on this, I'm sure it's going to drive that cost down.
Right.
If I could just
Can
also
I-
mention,
okay.
if there's an executive summary of the report I mentioned. So the example Jabu refers to is in the Northern Corridor, the 4 countries of Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan. We did a model where we looked at the costs along the axes of infrastructure, affordability, skills, and content. And we estimated to add 25 million additional users in that region would cost $64 per person. But with a few smart policy levers, such as spectrum management, infrastructure sharing, and taxes on mobile phones, we could reduce that number down to $49, which becomes actually profitable or investable for a business. And the key here is that public-private collaboration actually allows that money to be shifted. So it's not all the burden of the government to do that. It could be DOT comes in and helps take care of some of the training costs, which is part of this. So that's one of our key messages, that number one, you can quantify, but you can also then develop some targeted strategies and collaborations to reduce the costs.
But on the other side, just more importantly, is if you can connect 22 million people in South Africa to the internet, the GDP uplift, you know, if you can add 20, 30 basis points to the GDP, I mean, that's a huge amount of money, and that's in perpetuity. That changes the structure. So, I mean, that's from a business perspective. That's why I know myself and Jabu are very interested, and I know that our other industry colleagues are interested. If we can just increase the pie, it works for everyone.
So you had a question?
Well, there's a huge debate. My name is Benjamin Mshatama from SABC Channel Africa. In South Africa, there's a huge debate about the cost of data, and that's been something that's also been put forward to our parliament. And connectivity is not really the main issue, but sometimes it comes back to the issue of costing this data and how you're going to revisit that issue through this program, because you can't say, well, we haven't really dealt with how much it is, but we'll look at that later, where that seems to be the central conversation in South Africa at how much data costs. It seems to be very, very high for even the user who's currently using data currently.
Yeah. The data costs are still relatively high, but they are coming down. If you look at the figures, they are coming down, but it's still not sufficient to meet the needs of the poor. I think that's what is critical to us. There are certain strategies we're putting. Of course, the regulator is trying to look and doing studies, which will then inform which type of intervention you should put. But one of the key costs to the operators is the cost of laying down infrastructure. Just to get a permission to lay your infrastructure, if it is delayed, it adds to your cost of the investors. So in the new policy, we've got what is called rapid deployment policy, where we'll be working with municipality to make sure that we don't give that cost to go high, so that we can expedite the approval processes. We can create common leeways for laying the infrastructure. And of course, the sharing of the infrastructure will also bring the cost down. The example I was using just last week, we were at Mhlabiyalingana in northern KwaZulu-Natal, where Telkom, Vodacom, MTN, and the other operators, because we've got crime problem there. They were saying in order for us to be able to track the cars who are being stolen, they'll combine the effort, they'll share the infrastructure, and then we'll make the business case. So that's what we are doing at a policy. Those are the type of interventions we are putting so that the cost can be driven down, of course, through some of the policy measures. The my short response to the first question is yes, this thing is going to cost, as colleagues have said. But the cost of not doing it is even more than not of doing it. So that's why this collaborative effort will really make us achieve, if we can achieve it, the developmental aspect which will come out of it. You can't price it. Thank you.
Just one comment, Alex, if I may. You know, in this tech space, I say there are three types of people: the high tech, the low tech, and me, the no tech. And as a taxi driver, I see this as there is one road and there are many cars. The cost of using that one road, because of the congestion, there is higher demand and there's less supply. It's bound to be high. So I see this whole thing about connectivity just in the same way that it's a pipe. If there's only one pipe and the diameter is that small and there are just so many of the wires and you've got people have to queue to get in. Those that are in here don't want to get out, so they pay more. If this project is about increasing the pipe, having more pipes, having more roads, then it's bound to drop cost when supply is going to outstrip demand. So it's unfortunately the true laws of supply and demand of an economy. So this crowding in, this collaboration of just having the infrastructure, just having the connectivity. You're right, connectivity is not our issue for now, but data connectivity has not met the available users of data. So I think the more connectivity we have, the more bandwidth we're going to have, which is that diameter, the more the cost must come down.
And I think just the pure maths of dividing it by extra 22 million people, just the unit cost.
It's got to come down.
Comes down significantly. I think that's a big point.
Janet, you wanted to say something after the first question, or you were?
Well, it was only just to give an example of cost, which are very low in terms of building digital skills and digital literacy. The Rwandan cost to reach 5 million citizens is $25 million, and that's $5 a citizen. So the 64 coming down to 49, the basic skills training component is really cost effective because we're leveraging the talent that's already in the country. And we're actually working at bringing that cost down even further through partnerships from the private sector and others. So it really, and I just concur with what everyone else has said, the cost of not doing it is just so much greater.
Amanda, did you want to make any final comment?
Final comment, it's just to say the cost of not doing it, we run the risk of not having an active youth, we run the risk of not having an active leadership. Essentially, the youth, which comprises the majority of our population in this country, are the ones that are not actually active. They're not connected, and they are looking for information. We see it here in Durban, as the Shapers, we run a mentorship program. 100 youth don't have access to the internet all the time. And that impacts on their education. That impacts on their ability to engage in global conversations. And the risk is way higher if we don't do this project now and get it going, because in 10 years' time, when that youth becomes industry and they start entering the workforce, we run the risk of not having youth understand how to develop and be digital literate.
I think our time is up, so thank you very much for everyone's attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.